Lisa Martinez rubbed her tired eyes and stared at the computer screen. She had been working for 12 hours straight at the deep space monitoring station called Beacon Point. The station floated in empty space, far from Earth, listening for signals from across the galaxy. Most days were quiet. Lisa would hear nothing but static and the hum of space. But today was different. A strange beeping sound came through her headphones. She sat up straight and adjusted the controls. "What is that?" she whispered to herself. The signal was unlike anything she had heard before. It was not random noise from a star or a natural space event. This signal had a pattern. Someone or something was sending it on purpose. Lisa called over Dr. Peter Cole, the station's language expert. Peter was a thin man with gray hair who spent his days studying alien languages that humans had discovered over the years. "Peter, you need to hear this," Lisa said. She played the signal again. Peter listened carefully. His face grew serious. "This is definitely artificial. Someone is trying to communicate. Can you clean up the signal?" Lisa worked on the computer for an hour. Slowly, the static faded away. The signal became clearer. Peter listened again and again. He wrote notes and checked his computer files. "I think I can translate some of this," Peter said. "Give me a few hours." While Peter worked, Lisa kept listening to the signal. It repeated every 30 minutes. Whoever was sending it really wanted someone to hear it. 3 hours later, Peter came back with a worried look on his face. "Lisa, this is a distress call," he said. "The species calls themselves the Villani. Their home planet is called Velara Prime. They are under attack." Lisa felt her heart speed up. "Attack? By who?" Peter showed her his translation. "Something called the Korthak Empire. The Villani say the Korthak are destroying their cities and taking their people as slaves. They are asking for help from anyone who can hear this message." Lisa stared at the translation. The message painted a terrible picture. The Villani described their beautiful cities being burned. They talked about family members being taken away. Children were crying for their parents. The Korthak Empire was slowly destroying everything the Villani had built. "We have to tell Admiral Thompson," Lisa said. They sent the message to Earth immediately. Admiral Jake Thompson was the head of the Earth Defense Fleet. He was a strong man in his 50s who had spent his whole life protecting humanity. When he received the message, he called an emergency meeting. The meeting room at Earth Defense Headquarters was full of important people. Admiral Thompson stood at the front with a serious expression. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have received a distress call from an alien species," he began. "Dr. Cole has confirmed that this is genuine. A peaceful people called the Villani are being attacked by something called the Korthak Empire." He showed them pictures that came with the signal. The images were shocking. Beautiful alien cities were in ruins. Strange looking, but clearly intelligent. Beings were running in fear. Large, dark ships filled the sky above burning buildings. "The Villani have sent us their star charts," Admiral Thompson continued. "Velara Prime is 3 weeks away at maximum speed. They have also included tactical information about their attackers." General Patricia Hayes, the head of Earth's military, spoke up. "Admiral, we have never had contact with these species before. Why should we get involved in their war?" Admiral Thompson was quiet for a moment. Everyone in the room waited for his answer. "Because it is the right thing to do," he said finally. "These people are crying for help. They are being destroyed by an empire that treats other species like animals. If we do nothing, we are no better than the Korthak." He pointed to the star charts on the big screen. "The Villani have given us everything we need to find them. They trust us enough to share their location and their secrets. How can we ignore that trust?" Dr. Susan White, the fleet's expert on alien life, raised her hand. "What do we know about the Korthak Empire?" Admiral Thompson nodded to Peter Cole, who stood up. "From the Villani message, the Korthak are a powerful empire that has conquered many worlds. They take slaves and steal resources. They seem to believe that other species exist only to serve them." The room was silent. Everyone understood what this meant. The Korthak Empire was everything humanity hated. They were bullies on a galactic scale. Admiral Thompson walked around the table. "I have made my decision. We will help the Volani. We will send a fleet to Valara Prime and drive the Korthak away. Some people in the room looked shocked. Earth had never sent military forces so far from home. The risks were enormous. "Sir," said Captain Ryan Burke, one of Thompson's best ship commanders, "we would be fighting an unknown enemy in their territory. We could lose everything." Admiral Thompson stopped walking and looked at Captain Burke. "Captain, what if it was Earth under attack? What if aliens were destroying our cities and taking our children? Would you want someone to help us?" Captain Burke nodded slowly. "Yes, sir, I would." "Then we help the Volani," Admiral Thompson said. "I want our biggest fleet ready to leave in 72 hours. We will show the galaxy that humanity stands with the innocent." The meeting ended with everyone moving quickly to prepare. Lisa Martinez watched the news reports later that day. Earth's government had approved the mission. Shipyards around the solar system were loading weapons and supplies as fast as possible. Back at Beacon Point, Lisa kept listening to the Volani distress signal. Each time it repeated, she felt sadness for the suffering aliens. But she also felt pride. Humanity was going to help people they had never met, just because it was right. Peter Cole sat next to her. "Do you think we can win?" he asked. Lisa looked at the stars through the station window. Somewhere out there, the Volani were fighting for their lives. Soon, human ships would be traveling through space to help them. "I don't know if we can win," Lisa said, "but I know we have to try." The distress signal continued to repeat. But now it was not just a cry for help. It was a countdown. In 3 days, the largest human fleet ever built would begin the long journey to answer that call. Captain Ryan Burke stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution and watched the biggest military gathering in human history. Ships were arriving at Luna Station every hour. Massive cruisers moved slowly through space like floating cities. Smaller destroyers darted between them like guard dogs protecting a herd. The Retribution was the largest warship humanity had ever built. It was 3 kilometers long and carried enough weapons to destroy a small moon. Burke felt proud to command such a ship, but he also felt the weight of responsibility. 50,000 human lives depended on the decisions he and Admiral Thompson would make. "Captain, the last ships are arriving now," said Lieutenant Commander Greg Adams from his position at the tactical station. Greg was a young officer with sharp eyes who could read enemy battle plans like others read books. Burke nodded and opened a communication channel to the entire fleet. "All ships, this is Captain Burke. In 6 hours we will begin our journey to Valara Prime. Check your weapons, check your supplies, and check your courage. We are going to war." Down in the Marine section of the ship, Colonel Amy Foster was giving her own speech to the soldiers. Amy was a tough woman who had fought in every major human conflict for the past 15 years. Her Marines trusted her completely. "Listen up, soldiers," Amy said to the 1,000 Marines packed into the briefing room. "We are going to fight aliens we have never seen before. We do not know what they look like or how they fight, but we know they hurt innocent people, and that is enough." The Marines cheered. They had volunteered for this mission knowing they might never come home. But they believed in protecting others, even aliens they had never met. In the science section of the ship, Dr. Susan White was studying every piece of information about the Volani and their enemies. Susan was a small woman with a big brain who had spent her life learning about alien species. This would be her first time meeting living aliens. "The Volani appear to be peaceful," she told her team. "Their message shows no advanced weapons. They seem to be farmers and artists more than warriors. The Korthak, however, are clearly a military species. Their ships are built only for war." One of her assistants, Dr. Karen Bell, looked worried. "If the Korthak are so advanced, how can we beat them?" Susan smiled. "Because we are human. We do not give up, and we fight dirty when we have to." Across the fleet, similar preparations were happening on every ship. In the communications center of the destroyer UES Falcon, Elena Rodriguez was trying to reach the Volani resistance fighters. Elena spoke 7 languages and was learning the Volani language as fast as possible. She had managed to send a few simple messages to Valara Prime. The responses she got back were filled with hope and disbelief. The Volani could not understand. Why strangers would travel across the galaxy to help them. "Tell them we are coming," Admiral Thompson had ordered. "Tell them to hold on a little longer." On the heavy cruiser UES Thunder, Colonel Nick Rivera was training his Special Forces teams. Nick was a big man with scars on his face from old battles. His soldiers were the toughest fighters in the human military. "We will be fighting in alien cities," Nick told his troops. "The buildings will be different. The gravity might be different. The air might taste different. But bullets work the same everywhere." His soldiers laughed. They had trained for years to fight in any environment. Fighting on an alien planet would be their greatest challenge. Meanwhile, Admiral Thompson was in his command center, studying the tactical information the Villani had sent. The Korthak Empire controlled hundreds of star systems. Their military was huge and experienced. By all logic, humanity should not even try to fight them. But Admiral Thompson had not reached his position by following logic alone. He believed in the human spirit. Humans had always been best when fighting against impossible odds. "Sir," said his aide, Lieutenant Bob Taylor, "the final supply ships have arrived. We have enough food and ammunition for 6 months of fighting." Thompson nodded. "Good. What about the new weapons?" "All ships are equipped with the latest plasma cannons and shield generators. Our fighters have the new speed boosters. The Marines have the best armor we have ever made." Thompson looked at the star charts again. Valara Prime was marked with a red dot. It looked so small and far away, but thousands of aliens were dying there every day. Captain Lisa Park, commanding the destroyer UES Falcon, was checking her ship's systems one last time. Lisa was one of the youngest ship captains in the fleet, but she had proven herself in training exercises. Her ship was fast and deadly. "All systems ready, Captain," reported her engineer, Chief Tommy Wu. "The new engines are working perfectly. We can go faster than any ship the humans have ever built." "We will need that speed," Lisa said. "The Korthak will not expect us to be so fast." As the final preparations continued, news of the mission spread across Earth. People gathered in cities to watch the fleet on television. Some thought the mission was foolish. Others thought it was the most noble thing humanity had ever done. Sarah Johnson, a teacher in New York, watched with her students. "Why are we helping aliens we have never met?" one student asked. Sarah thought for a moment. "Because that is what good people do. When someone needs help, you help them. It does not matter if they are different from you." On Luna Station, Admiral Thompson gave his final orders. Every ship captain listened carefully as he spoke. "We are about to do something no human has ever done before," he said. "We are going to fight a war to save strangers. History will remember this moment. Make sure it remembers us as heroes, not fools." The fleet began to move. One by one, the ships activated their faster-than-light engines. Blue light filled space as each ship disappeared into hyperspace. Captain Burke was the last to leave. He looked back at Earth one more time. The blue planet looked peaceful and beautiful. He hoped he would see it again. "Jump to hyperspace," he ordered. The Retribution vanished in a flash of light. The human war fleet was on its way to answer an alien distress call. 3 weeks later, they would arrive at Valara Prime and change the galaxy forever. The human fleet traveled through hyperspace like ghosts moving between stars. Inside the ships, 50,000 people prepared for a war unlike any they had ever imagined. The journey to Valara Prime would take 3 weeks, and every day was spent getting ready for battle. Captain Burke walked through the corridors of the Retribution every morning. He wanted his crew to see him and know that their captain was confident. But inside, Burke felt the weight of command. He was leading humanity's first major war against aliens, and no one knew what to expect. "Captain, the morning drill results are ready," said Lieutenant Commander Adams. Greg had been running combat simulations every day, testing different battle plans against computer models of Korthak ships. "How are we doing?" Burke asked. "Better each day. The crews are learning to work together faster. But sir, the Korthak ships have stronger shields and more powerful weapons than ours." Burke nodded. He had expected this. "Then we will have to be smarter and braver than they are." In the marine training areas, Colonel Foster was pushing her soldiers harder than ever before. The Marines practiced fighting in mock alien buildings. They learned to work with Volani resistance fighters they had never met. They prepared for battle in gravity that might be different from Earth's. Remember, Amy told her troops, we are not just fighting for ourselves. We are fighting for people who cannot fight back. Every Volani family we save makes this mission worth it. Staff Sergeant Tony Garcia led urban combat training. Tony had fought in Earth's worst cities and knew how to win street battles. But fighting in alien streets would be different. The buildings might be taller or shorter than we expect, he told his squad. The doors might be round instead of square. But cover is cover, and enemies die the same way everywhere. The Marines trained with weapons designed to work in different atmospheres. They practiced medical care for alien physiology. They learned basic Volani words so they could tell civilians to take cover or follow them to safety. Dr. White spent her days studying everything the Volani had sent about themselves and their enemies. She was amazed by what she learned about both species. The Volani are remarkable, she told Captain Burke during one of their daily meetings. They have built a peaceful civilization that lasted for thousands of years. They solved problems with art and science, not war. That is why they are so helpless against the Korthak. What about the Korthak? Burke asked. Susan's expression became grim. They are everything the Volani are not. The Korthak believe that strength gives them the right to rule others. They have been conquering species for centuries. To them, other aliens are just resources to be used. Burke felt anger rise in his chest. They sound like the worst kind of bullies. That is exactly what they are, Susan agreed. But they have never fought humans before. They do not know what we are capable of. In the communications center, Elena Rodriguez had managed to establish regular contact with Volani resistance groups. The news she received was heartbreaking, but also inspiring. The Korthak are destroying the capital city of Thara, she reported to Admiral Thompson. But the Volani civilians are fighting back with tools and farm equipment. They have no real weapons, but they refuse to surrender. Thompson felt proud of the Volani courage, but also sadness for their losses. Tell them we are coming. Tell them to hold on just a little longer. Elena sent messages of hope to the desperate Volani. She described the massive human fleet traveling through space to help them. The responses she got back were filled with gratitude and disbelief. One message from a Volani named Zarath particularly moved Elena. Zarath was leading resistance fighters in the ruins of Thara. She wrote, "We do not understand why beings we have never met would risk their lives for us, but we will remember this kindness forever." Colonel Rivera used the journey to train his special forces for the most dangerous missions. His teams would be the first to land on Valara Prime. They would have to secure landing zones while under enemy fire. "The Korthak will not expect us to attack immediately," Nick told his soldiers. "They think all species fight the way they do, with careful planning and slow movements. We will hit them fast and hard before they can react." His teams practiced rapid deployment from spaceships to planet surface. They learned to work in alien environments wearing full combat armor. They prepared to fight enemies they had never seen using tactics no human had ever tried. Captain Park, commanding the destroyer, Falcon, spent her time studying Korthak ship movements. The Volani had sent recordings of space battles around their planet. Lisa watched these recordings over and over, looking for weaknesses. "The Korthak ships move in perfect formations," she told her tactical officer. "They follow patterns that never change. That makes them predictable." "But their ships are bigger and stronger than ours," her officer replied. "Size is not everything," Lisa said with a smile. "A fast punch to the right spot can drop a giant." Admiral Thompson held daily meetings with his senior officers. They discussed every aspect of the coming battle. The Admiral wanted to be ready for anything the Korthak might do. "We have one advantage," he told his staff. "They do not know we are coming. The Korthak think they are fighting a local rebellion. They have no idea that humanity is about to arrive." Dr. Bell, working with Susan White, made an important discovery about human psychology compared to other species. According to the Volani data, most galactic species avoid unnecessary risks. They fight only when they have clear advantages. "And humans?" Thompson asked. Humans are different. We take risks that other species think are insane. We fight even when we are outnumbered. The Velani call us Deathworlders because we evolved on such a dangerous planet. Thompson smiled. Then let us show the Korthak what Deathworlders can do. As the journey continued, the human fleet became more than just ships traveling through space. They became a family, united by purpose. Soldiers from different countries worked together. Scientists shared knowledge freely. Everyone understood that they were part of something bigger than themselves. Chief Wu, the engineer on Captain Park's ship, spent his time making sure the human ships could fight at maximum efficiency. Our engines are running at 110%, he reported. The weapons are charged and ready. When we arrive at Valara Prime, we will be ready for anything. Field medic Katie Johnson prepared medical facilities for both human and alien casualties. Katie had volunteered for the mission because she wanted to help save lives. She studied Velani anatomy so she could treat wounded civilians. I do not know what we will find when we arrive, she told her medical team, but we will be ready to help anyone who needs it. As the third week of travel began, everyone in the fleet could feel the tension building. They were almost at their destination. Soon they would drop out of hyperspace and face the enemy. Elena received one final message from Zarath before the fleet arrived. The Velani resistance leader sent coordinates for safe landing zones and warned about Korthak ship positions. We are ready for you, the message said. Save our world. Captain Burke stood on his bridge as the fleet prepared to exit hyperspace. In a few minutes, they would see Valara Prime and learn what they were truly fighting against. All ships, prepare for battle, he announced to the fleet. We came here to help innocent people. Let us show the galaxy what humanity stands for. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Valara system. What they saw made everyone gasp in shock and anger. Valara Prime hung in space like a wounded animal. Dark smoke covered parts of the planet where cities had been burning for weeks. Around the planet, a massive alien fleet blocked all escape routes. Captain Burke stared at the enemy ships through his view screen. The Korthak vessels were huge and dark, shaped like giant claws reaching through space. There were at least 100 of them, each one larger than the biggest human ship. My God, whispered Lieutenant Commander Adams. Look at the size of them. Admiral, Thompson's voice came through the communication system to every ship in the human fleet. All vessels, this is Admiral Thompson. What we see before us proves why we came. The Korthak Empire has turned a beautiful world into a prison. Today, we break down the prison walls. The Korthak fleet had noticed the human ships appearing. Alien vessels began turning toward them, moving in perfect formations. Their ships moved slowly but with deadly purpose, like predators who had never met real resistance. Enemy ships approaching, reported Adams. They are moving in standard attack formation, very organized, very predictable. Burke smiled grimly. Then let us show them something unpredictable. All ships, attack pattern Delta. Hit them fast and hit them hard. The human fleet split into 3 groups and charged toward the enemy. This was not how galactic warfare usually worked. Most species fought careful battles with long-range weapons trying to avoid losses. But humans fought like their planet had taught them to fight, with courage, speed, and controlled aggression. Captain Park, commanding the destroyer Falcon, led the fastest group of ships. Her vessels darted between the massive Korthak cruisers, like small fish swimming around sharks. Target their weapon systems, she ordered. We cannot match their armor, but we can take away their teeth. The Falcon fired its plasma cannons at close range, striking the weapons ports of a Korthak ship. The alien vessel shuddered under the impact. It tried to turn its guns toward the small human destroyer, but the Falcon was already gone, speeding toward another target. The Korthak commanders were confused. No species had ever attacked them so aggressively. They sent messages to each other in their harsh language, trying to understand what these new enemies were doing. Colonel Foster, watching the space battle from the marine deck of the Retribution, felt her heart racing. Come on, she whispered. Get us to that planet. The main human battle group, led by Captain Burke, crashed into the center of the Korthak formation. The Retribution's heavy weapons fired continuously, punching holes through enemy shields. But the Korthak ships fired back with equal force. Shields, down to 60%, reported Chief Engineer Dave Miller. Hull breach on Deck 7. Keep firing, Burke ordered. We need to break through their line. The space battle became a deadly dance. Human ships moved in patterns the Korthak had never seen. Instead of fighting in neat lines, the humans attacked from all directions at once. They took risks that seemed insane to the methodical alien minds. Dr. White, watching from the science station, was amazed by what she saw. The Korthak ships are more advanced than ours, but they cannot adapt to our fighting style. They are built for fighting species that think like they do. The destroyer UES Thunder, commanded by Captain Mike Ross, broke through the enemy line by flying directly under a Korthak battleship. The alien vessel fired down at the Thunder, but the human ship was too close for the big guns to target effectively. "This is Thunder," Captain Ross reported. "We are through the blockade, beginning approach to the planet." But the Korthak were not helpless. Their ships began to change formation, trying to trap the human vessels. A group of alien cruisers surrounded the human ship UES Liberty. Captain John Hayes found his ship facing enemies on all sides. "Liberty to all ships," he called out. "We are surrounded. Cannot break free." Captain Park heard the call for help. "Falcon Group, follow me. We are going to save the Liberty." Small destroyers raced toward the trapped cruiser. They fired everything they had at the Korthak ships, forcing the aliens to divide their attention. In the confusion, the Liberty managed to escape. "This is Liberty," Captain Hayes reported. "Thank you, Falcon. We owe you one." The battle continued for 3 hours. Human ships were damaged, and some were destroyed, but they fought with a determination that amazed even themselves. The Korthak began to retreat toward the planet, trying to regroup. Admiral Thompson saw his chance. "All ships push forward, do not let them recover." The human fleet pressed their attack. Captain Burke led the charge toward Valara Prime itself. As they got closer to the planet, they could see the terrible damage the Korthak had done. Whole cities were burning. Refugee ships tried to escape the planet but were being hunted down by Korthak patrol vessels. The sight filled every human with rage and determination. "Look at what they have done," said Colonel Rivera, preparing his Marines for landing. "This is why we fight." Elena Rodriguez managed to contact the Villani resistance during the battle. "This is the human fleet," she transmitted. "We are coming to help you. Where do you need us most?" The response came from Zarath, the resistance leader. "The capital city of Thara is under siege. Thousands of civilians are trapped. Please help." Then Captain Burke made his decision. "All ships, we are going to land Marines in Thara. Cover the landing craft." The Korthak fleet tried to stop the human landing, but they were still confused by human tactics. Colonel Foster's Marines launched toward the planet's surface while human ships provided cover fire above them. As the first human landing craft broke through the atmosphere of Valara Prime, Foster could see the alien city below. Thara had once been beautiful with tall spires and flowing architecture. Now it was a war zone with burning buildings and refugee camps. "Marines, remember your training," Foster announced to her troops. "We are here to protect civilians and drive out invaders. Show the galaxy what human Marines can do." The landing craft touched down in a park near the center of Thara. As the doors opened, Foster saw her first live Villani. They were tall, graceful beings with large eyes and silvery skin. Despite their fear, they ran toward the human soldiers with hope in their faces. A young Villani approached Foster and spoke in broken English that Elena had taught them. You came. We thought no one would help us." Foster removed her helmet, so the alien could see her face. "We are here now. Where are the Korthak?" The Villani pointed toward the government district. "They have taken the council building. Many of our leaders are prisoners there." Foster nodded and turned to her Marines. "You heard him. Let us go free some prisoners." As the Marines moved through the alien city, they could see the contrast between Villani and Korthak clearly. The Villani buildings were beautiful and artistic, designed for a peaceful people. The Korthak had set up ugly military structures that looked like metal cancers on the landscape. Above them, the space battle continued. Human ships fought desperately to maintain control of the sky, while more landing craft descended to the planet's surface. Captain Park, still commanding the Falcon, received new orders from Admiral Thompson. "Captain Park, we need you to destroy the Korthak Communications Center in orbit. Cut off their ability to call for reinforcements." "Understood, Admiral," Park replied. "Falcon Group, we have a new target." The communications center was a massive space station defended by the largest Korthak ships. It seemed impossible for small destroyers to attack such a target, but Captain Park had learned that impossible was just another word for challenging. "All ships follow my lead," she ordered. "We are going to hit them where they do not expect it." The battle for Valara Prime had begun. Humans fought in space and on the ground, showing the galaxy that some fights were worth any risk. The Korthak Empire was about to learn that they had awakened something they did not understand. Colonel Foster's Marines moved through the streets of Thara like avenging angels. The Vellani civilians they met could hardly believe what they were seeing. These strange aliens had traveled across the galaxy to help them, asking for nothing in return. The first Korthak soldiers the humans encountered were guarding a group of Vellani prisoners near the old market square. The Korthak were large, heavily armored beings with rough gray skin. They carried energy weapons and moved with the confidence of a species that had never been seriously challenged. Staff Sergeant Tony Garcia led his squad toward the enemy position. "Remember, the Vellani are counting on us," he whispered to his soldiers. "Take the Korthak down fast and clean." The Marines attacked with precision and speed. The Korthak soldiers had been expecting desperate Vellani resistance fighters with simple weapons. Instead, they faced professional human soldiers with advanced training and equipment. The battle was over in minutes. The Korthak never had a chance to call for help. Tony's squad freed 30 Vellani civilians who had been waiting to be shipped off as slaves. One of the freed Vellani, an elderly female named Sirath, approached Tony with tears in her large silver eyes. "You came for us," she said in careful English. "Why?" "We are strangers to you." Tony removed his helmet and smiled at her. "Because it was the right thing to do. No one should be a slave." Meanwhile, Colonel Rivera had landed with his special forces team near the government district. Their mission was to rescue Vellani leaders held prisoner in the council building. Nick could see the building in the distance, surrounded by Korthak defenses. "This is not going to be easy," he told his team, "but those alien politicians did not ask to be prisoners. We are getting them out." As Rivera's team moved through the city, they met their first Vellani resistance fighter. Zarath was a tall, strong Vellani female who carried a weapon made from farming tools. Despite her crude equipment, she moved like a natural warrior. "You are the humans," she said in good English. "Elena taught us your language. I am Zarath. We have been waiting for you." Rivera was impressed by her courage. "How many resistance fighters do you have?" "Maybe 500 in this city." "We have no real weapons, but we know every street and building. We can help you." Rivera nodded. "Show us the best way to reach the council building." Zarath led the human soldiers through hidden passages and underground tunnels that the Korthak did not know about. As they moved, she told them about her people's situation. "The Korthak came 6 months ago," she explained. "At first, they demanded tribute. When we refused, they began taking our people as slaves. They said we existed only to serve their empire." Rivera felt anger building in his chest. "Not anymore. Today we teach them that bullies can be beaten." Dr. White had landed with the second wave of forces, along with her medical team. She set up a field hospital in what had been a Vellani school. As wounded fighters began arriving, both human and Vellani, she got her first close look at the aliens they were trying to save. The Vellani were remarkable beings. They were taller than humans, with graceful movements and artistic sensibilities. Even in war, they tried to help each other with gentle care. Dr. White was moved by their compassion. "They are nothing like the Korthak," she told her assistant, Dr. Bell. "The Vellani build beautiful things and care for each other. The Korthak only destroy and dominate." Field medic Katie Johnson worked tirelessly to treat wounded Volani civilians. She had studied their anatomy during the journey, but treating real aliens was different from reading about them. Katie discovered that despite their different appearance, Volani had emotions and fears just like humans. A young Volani child with a broken arm looked at Katie with wide, frightened eyes. Katie smiled and spoke gently. "It will be okay, we are here to help." The child relaxed and let Katie treat his injury. When she was finished, he touched her hand and said something in the Volani language. Zarath, who was nearby, translated. "He says you have kind hands like his mother," she told Katie. "He wants to know if all humans are so gentle." Katie felt tears in her eyes. "Tell him that humans can be both gentle and fierce. We are gentle with those who need protection, and fierce with those who hurt innocents." The fighting in Thara continued throughout the day. Human Marines and Volani resistance fighters worked together to clear the city block by block. The Korthak fought back, but they were not prepared for the human style of warfare. Captain Burke, still commanding the space battle above the planet, received regular reports from the ground forces. The news was mixed. The humans were winning individual battles, but Korthak reinforcements kept arriving. "Admiral, we need to cut off their supply lines," Burke reported to Thompson. "More enemy ships are jumping into the system every hour." "Admiral," Thompson was thinking the same thing. "Captain Park, how is your attack on the communication station going?" Captain Park was leading her destroyer group in a desperate assault on the heavily defended Korthak command center. "We are making progress, Admiral, but their defenses are strong. Give us another hour." On the ground, Colonel Foster had reached the main Korthak base in Thara. It was an ugly metal complex that the aliens had built in what used to be a beautiful Volani park. Foster felt sick, looking at how the invaders had destroyed something so peaceful. "Marines, we are taking that base," she announced. "The Korthak have had their fun. Now it is our turn." The assault on the base was the fiercest fighting of the day. The Korthak defenders were professional soldiers with good equipment and strong positions, but they had never faced humans in close combat before. Human Marines fought with a combination of technology and pure determination that amazed the Volani resistance fighters helping them. Staff Sergeant Garcia led his squad through enemy fire, using grenades and assault rifles to clear defensive positions. "Keep moving," Garcia shouted to his soldiers. "Do not let them organize a counterattack." The battle for the base took 3 hours. When it was over, Foster's Marines had captured the Korthak commander, a large alien with battle scars and cold, dark eyes. Through a translation device, Foster spoke to him. "Why did you attack these people?" she asked. "They were peaceful. They offered you no threat." The Korthak commander looked at her with contempt. "They are weak. The weak exist to serve the strong. This is the natural order." Foster stared at him for a long moment. "You just met humans. We will show you a different natural order." Meanwhile, Rivera's Special Forces team had successfully rescued the Volani leadership from the council building. The alien politicians were amazed to see human soldiers risking their lives to save them. "We heard rumors that unknown aliens had come to help us," said council leader Jareth, the senior Volani official. "But we thought it was just a desperate hope. You are real." Rivera helped the elderly alien leader walk to safety. "We are real, and we are here to stay until your world is free." As night fell over Thara, the first day of ground fighting was ending. Human forces controlled most of the city, but the cost had been high. 23 Marines had died and many more were wounded. The Volani had lost hundreds of resistance fighters. Colonel Foster stood in the ruins of what had been a beautiful plaza, now scarred by weapons fire. Zarath joined her, looking at the damage with sad eyes. "Your people have sacrificed so much for us," the Volani leader said. "How can we ever repay such kindness?" Foster put her hand on Zarath's shoulder. "You repay us by being free. Every Volani child who grows up without fear of slavery makes our sacrifice worthwhile." Above them, the space battle continued. Captain Park had finally broken through the defenses of the Korthak communication station. As her ships destroyed the alien facility, all Korthak forces in the system lost contact with their empire. "This is Captain Park to all ships," she announced. "The enemy communication center is destroyed. They cannot call for more reinforcements." Admiral Thompson felt hope for the first time since the battle began. "Excellent work, Captain. Now we can focus on driving them out of this system entirely." Dr. White, working in her field hospital, was learning more about both species with every hour. The contrast between Volani and Korthak was striking. The Volani helped each other even when they were hurt. The Korthak prisoners cared only for themselves. "The Volani represent everything good about intelligence and civilization," she told Katie Johnson. "The Korthak represent everything evil about power without wisdom." As the first day of battle ended, humans and Volani worked together to care for the wounded and prepare for tomorrow's fighting. They were no longer strangers. They had become allies bonded by shared sacrifice for justice. Major Dan Phillips crouched in the ruins of a Korthak communication bunker, studying the alien equipment his intelligence team had captured. Dan was a thin, quiet man who spoke 6 languages and could break almost any code. What he found in the Korthak computers would change everything. "Colonel Foster, you need to see this," Dan called over his radio. He had been working for hours to understand the alien technology, and now he had found something incredible. Foster arrived at the bunker with Zareth and several other Volani resistance leaders. The alien equipment was still smoking from the battle that had captured it. "What did you find, Major?" Foster asked. Dan pointed to a holographic display showing star charts and military positions. "This is the Korthak Regional Command Center. It is located on a moon in the next system over. All military operations in this part of the galaxy are controlled from there." Zareth looked at the display with growing excitement. "If that command center was destroyed, what would happen?" "Chaos," Dan replied. "Every Korthak force in 50 systems would lose coordination. They would not know where to send reinforcements or how to organize defenses." Foster immediately contacted Admiral Thompson. The Admiral studied the intelligence data carefully. The command center was heavily defended, but attacking it might be their only chance to win the war quickly. "Captain Burke, report to my flagship immediately," Thompson ordered. "We are going to plan the most important mission of this war." Burke arrived at Thompson's command ship within an hour. The Admiral's war room was full of officers studying the captured Korthak data. The mood was tense but hopeful. "Gentlemen," Thompson began, "we have a chance to strike a blow that could end this war, but it will require everything we have." He showed them the location of the Korthak command center. It was protected by dozens of warships and defensive stations. A direct assault would be almost impossible. "Almost impossible," Burke said thoughtfully, "but not completely impossible." Thompson smiled. "That is what I hoped you would say. I want you to lead the assault. Take half our fleet and hit them hard while they are still confused by our attacks here." Burke felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. "What about the forces on Valara Prime? We cannot abandon the Volani. Colonel Foster and her Marines will continue the ground campaign. Captain Park will provide orbital support, but we need to stop the Korthak from sending more ships here." The plan was dangerous and complex. Burke's fleet would jump to the command, center system and attack immediately, before the Korthak could organize their defenses. Meanwhile, the remaining human forces would continue fighting on Valara Prime. Burke selected his best ships and captains for the mission. The heavy cruiser UES Thunder would provide firepower. The destroyers UES Falcon and UES Storm would handle the fast attacks. Burke himself would lead in the retribution. "We leave in 6 hours," he told his captains. "Check your ships and say your prayers. We are about to attack the heart of the Korthak Empire." Meanwhile, on Valara Prime, the ground war continued. Colonel Rivera's special forces had captured several Korthak outposts, freeing hundreds of Volani prisoners. Each rescue mission revealed more about the aliens' cruel methods. Nick found rooms full of Volani civilians waiting to be shipped off as slaves. He found laboratories where Korthak scientists studied captured Volani like animals. The sights filled him with cold anger. "Sir," reported Sergeant Bill Carter, one of Rivera's best soldiers, "we found the main slave processing center. There are over 1,000 Volani prisoners there." Rivera looked at the intelligence photos. The processing center was heavily guarded, But those prisoners could not wait for a perfect plan. We attack her. Tonight, he decided. Every day we wait, more Villani disappear forever. Dr. White was making her own discoveries in the field hospital. As she treated wounded Korthak prisoners, she learned about their society. What she found was disturbing. The Korthak do not see other species as equals, she told Dr. Bell. To them, we are just animals that happen to be useful. They cannot understand why we would help the Villani. One wounded Korthak soldier had tried to explain human behavior to his captors. They fight for others who cannot fight, he said in broken English. This makes no sense. Why risk death for strangers? Dr. White leaned over the alien's medical bed. Because that is what separates civilized beings from predators. We protect those who need protection. The Korthak looked confused. In his species' culture, such behavior was impossible to understand. Captain Burke's assault fleet jumped into hyperspace 6 hours after the planning meeting. As they traveled toward the command center, Burke felt nervous excitement. This mission could end the war, but it could also end in disaster. All ships prepare for immediate combat when we exit hyperspace, he announced to his fleet. We will have surprise on our side, but only for a few minutes. Meanwhile, on Valara Prime, Rivera's night assault on the slave processing center began. His special forces moved through the darkness like ghosts, taking out Korthak guards silently. Zarath and her resistance fighters guided them through the alien facility. The processing center was a nightmare of metal cages and scanning equipment. Villani families were separated and catalogued like cargo. Children cried for parents they might never see again. My God, whispered Sergeant Carter. How can any intelligent species do this to others? Rivera's jaw tightened. They can do it because no one ever stopped them before. Tonight that changes. The human soldiers and Villani fighters attacked the center from 6 directions at once. The Korthak guards were caught completely by surprise. They had grown lazy after months of facing only desperate civilians with simple weapons. The battle was fierce but short. Rivera's team freed all 1,000 prisoners and destroyed the facility completely. As Villani families reunited with tears of joy, Rivera felt that every risk had been worth it. Thank you, said an elderly Villani father as he hugged his rescued daughter. Our children will grow up free because of your courage. Rivera nodded, but his mind was already on the next mission. There were more Korthak facilities to destroy and more prisoners to free. Captain Burke's fleet dropped out of hyperspace at Tondi, the edge of the command center system. What they saw was even worse than they had expected. The Korthak had turned an entire moon into a military fortress. Hundreds of ships patrolled the area, and massive weapons platforms protected the approaches. Jesus, whispered Lieutenant Commander Adams. How are we supposed to get through all that? Burke studied the enemy positions carefully. The Korthak defenses were strong but predictable. They had arranged their ships in perfect geometric patterns, just like in every battle. Same old Korthak. Thinking, Burke said. They fight like they are conducting a parade. Time to show them some human chaos. He opened communications to his entire fleet. All ships. Attack pattern random. Do not follow any plan. Just hit them fast and keep moving. Confuse them before they can organize. The human fleet scattered in all directions, attacking the Korthak defenses from unexpected angles. Burke led the retribution directly toward the largest enemy battleship, firing everything he had. The Korthak commander tried to organize a proper response, but the humans were not fighting properly. They attacked in random patterns that made no military sense. Ships appeared where they should not be, and vanished before the Korthak could target them. Captain Park, commanding the destroyer Falcon, darted between 2 massive Korthak cruisers. Her ship was tiny compared to the alien vessels, but she was fast and unpredictable. Target their command bridges, she ordered her weapons officer. Cut the head off the snake. Her plasma cannon struck the command section of a Korthak battleship. The alien vessel began to drift helplessly as its bridge crew died or fled. The battle raged for 4 hours. Burke's ships took heavy damage, but they kept fighting with desperate courage. Slowly, they fought their way through the defensive rings toward the command center itself. Captain, reported Chief Engineer Miller, our shields are down to 20%. Hull breaches on multiple decks. We cannot take much more of this. Burke looked at the command center growing larger on his screen. They were so close now. Give me everything you have left. We only need to get through this one last barrier. The Retribution charged toward the command moon with the last of her power. Korthak defense platforms fired at her from all sides, but Burke held his course. Behind him, the surviving ships of his fleet followed, their crews knowing this was their only chance. As the Retribution reached the surface of the command moon, Burke felt enemy fire tearing through his ship. Explosions shook the bridge and emergency lights flashed everywhere. "Sir," called Adams from his damaged console, "we are losing life support. Multiple system failures." Burke smiled grimly as he looked at the Korthak command center directly below them. "Then let us make this count. All weapons, fire." The Retribution unleashed everything she had left at the alien command center. Plasma cannons, missiles, and railguns poured destruction into the fortress below. Secondary explosions began to chain through the facility as critical systems overloaded. "Command center is destroyed," reported the sensor officer. "The entire facility is collapsing." Burke felt satisfaction and pain as his ship continued to take damage. They had done it. The heart of the Korthak military machine was gone. 6 months had passed since the greatest space battle in galactic history. The Battle of the Veil Nebula, as historians would later call it, had lasted 3 days and involved over 5,000 ships from dozens of species. When the smoke cleared, the Korthak Empire was broken forever. Admiral Thompson stood in the Great Council Chamber on Valara Prime, now the temporary capital of the Galactic Liberation Alliance. Representatives from 47 species sat around a circular table, discussing the future of their galaxy. It was a sight that would have been impossible just a year ago. "The Korthak Supreme Commander has agreed to unconditional surrender," announced Zarath, who now served as the Alliance's first Secretary General. "All remaining Korthak forces have laid down their weapons. The empire that ruled through fear for 3 centuries is finished." Quiet celebration filled the chamber. Some species had been enslaved for generations. Others had lived in terror of Korthak expansion. Now, for the first time in their lives, they were truly free. Captain Burke, recovered from his injuries but walking with a cane, represented humanity in the negotiations. The hero of the command center assault had become one of the most respected figures in the Alliance. "The question now," Burke said to the assembled delegates, "is what kind of galaxy we want to build. We have a choice between revenge and justice, between conquest and cooperation." Dr. White, now serving as humanity's chief xenobiologist, had been studying the aftermath of the war. Her reports painted a picture of incredible change across the galaxy. 47 worlds have declared independence from Korthak rule, she told the council. 12 species that were nearly extinct under slavery are rebuilding their populations. Trade between free worlds has increased by 300%. But the transition was not without problems. On some worlds, former slaves sought violent revenge against their oppressors. On others, Korthak civilians faced starvation as their military-based economy collapsed. Colonel Foster, now a general commanding Alliance peacekeeping forces, worked to prevent the cycle of violence from continuing. "We did not fight this war to replace one empire with another," she told her mixed force of human and alien soldiers. "We fought to create a galaxy where all species can live in peace." The Korthak trials were the most difficult part of the post-war process. Supreme Commander Vorthak and his generals faced charges of genocide, slavery, and crimes against entire species. The evidence was overwhelming, but many Alliance members wanted immediate execution rather than legal proceedings. "Justice must be seen to be done properly," Thompson argued at one heated council session. "If we act like the Korthak, we become no better than they were. We must show the galaxy a better way." The trials took place on Valara Prime, with judges from 7 different species. Vorthak himself showed no remorse for his crimes. When asked why he had enslaved entire civilizations, he simply said, "It was efficient." The Vallani judge, an elderly female named Kirith, spoke for the tribunal when she delivered the verdict. "You believed that strength gave you the right to rule others. Today, you learn that true strength comes from protecting the weak, not oppressing them. Forthak and his generals were sentenced to life imprisonment on a remote world, where they would work to repair some of the damage they had caused. Many species wanted harsher punishment, but Thompson insisted on justice rather than revenge. Meanwhile, the practical work of building the alliance continued. Captain Park, now an admiral, commanded the joint fleet that patrolled former Korthak territory. Her ships included crews from dozens of species all working together to maintain peace. "It is not easy," she reported to Thompson. "Different species have different ideas about tactics and discipline, but they are learning to work together. In some ways, our diversity makes us stronger." The Keltorians had become the Alliance's primary shipbuilders, using their engineering skills to design vessels that could accommodate multiple species. Chief Engineer Mokhtar took pride in creating ships where humans, Villani, Yalith, and others could serve side by side. "Each species brings different strengths," he explained to a visiting delegation. "Humans bring courage and adaptability. Villani bring wisdom and diplomacy. Yalith bring patience and endurance. Together, we build better than any of us could alone." Dr. Bell, working with medical teams from across the galaxy, was establishing new standards for treating multiple species. The Alliance Medical Corps was becoming a model of interspecies cooperation. "We are learning that intelligence and consciousness take many forms," she told a medical conference. "But suffering and healing are universal. When we help others, we help ourselves." Field medic Katie Johnson had established the first interspecies medical training program. Students from 20 different worlds learned to treat patients unlike themselves. Katie found the work deeply rewarding. "I joined the military to save human lives," she said. "Now I save lives of beings I could never have imagined. It makes every day feel important." Elena Rodriguez, now the Alliance's chief communications officer, was working to establish translation protocols for all member species. The challenge was enormous, but the results were revolutionary. For the first time in galactic history, any species can talk directly to any other species, she announced. "We are breaking down the barriers that have kept us apart for thousands of years." Captain Harrison commanded the Alliance's exploration fleet, searching for species that had hidden from the Korthak Empire. Each new discovery brought new perspectives and new possibilities. "We found a species last week that communicates through color changes," she reported with excitement. "They create art that humans cannot even see properly. Every contact teaches us something new about intelligence and creativity." The economic transformation was equally dramatic. The Yalith agricultural worlds became the breadbasket of the galaxy, feeding dozens of species with their advanced farming techniques. The Mokari mining operations provided raw materials for reconstruction projects across hundreds of worlds. Commander Turner, now heading the Alliance Development Program, oversaw projects that would have been impossible under Korthak rule. "We are building schools, hospitals, and cultural centers on worlds that knew only military bases and slave camps," he reported proudly. But the most important changes were happening in the hearts and minds of galactic citizens. For the first time in centuries, children grew up expecting cooperation rather than conquest, diversity rather than uniformity. On Earth, Ambassador Rachel Stone worked to explain the new galaxy to humanity. Rachel was a diplomat who had helped negotiate many of the Alliance treaties. Her job was to help humans understand their role in the larger galactic community. "We are no longer alone," she told audiences across Earth. "We are part of something bigger than our planet, bigger than our species. We have responsibilities that extend across the stars." Some humans struggled with the concept. Earth had always been the center of human concerns. Now they were just one species among many, albeit a respected one. "Why should we care about aliens we will never meet?" asked one skeptical citizen during a public forum. Rachel smiled patiently. "Because 6 months ago, we were aliens that the Villani had never met. Yet when they called for help, we answered. That single act of compassion changed the galaxy forever." The Alliance was not perfect. There were disputes between species, misunderstandings about trade, and disagreements about policies. But these problems were solved through negotiation and compromise, not conquest and slavery. Zarath, reflecting on the transformation, spoke to the Alliance Council about the deeper meaning of their victory. The Korthak believed that the galaxy was a place of eternal conflict where only the strong survived. We have proven them wrong. The galaxy can be a place of cooperation, where all species can thrive. Thompson, now serving as the Alliance's military commander, spent his days ensuring that the peace they had won would be protected. The Alliance fleet was not designed for conquest, but for defense, ready to respond if any species threatened others. We learned something important during this war, he told his officers. Evil succeeds when good people do nothing. The Alliance exists to make sure that good people are never powerless to act. Captain Burke, despite his injuries, continued to serve as an inspiration to Alliance forces. His destruction of the Korthak Command Center had become legendary across the galaxy. But Burke remained humble about his role. I did what any human would do, he said when asked about his heroism. When innocent people needed help, we helped them. The real heroes are the thousands who died making that choice. As the first anniversary of the Battle of Valara Prime approached, the Alliance prepared for its greatest celebration. Representatives from every member species would gather to commemorate not just a military victory, but the birth of a new age. Dr. White, now serving as the Alliance's chief scientist, was working on projects that would have been impossible under Korthak rule. Different species were sharing their knowledge freely, leading to breakthroughs in medicine, technology, and understanding. We are discovering things about the universe that no single species could have learned alone, she reported to the council. When different minds work together, they see possibilities that were invisible before.